This is a work by the Sisters of Survival called Shovel Defense.
And it was installed and performed at City Hall and several other venues around LA. It was an anti-nuclear piece.
What year?
It was in 1980. It was a political cartoon by Paul Conrad that came out in the LA Times based on a statement by Undersecretary of State T.K. Jones where he said that to survive a nuclear war, all you needed was enough shovels to go around.
Our mascot for the show ended up being a image of Anne Galden as one of the waitresses, and she's the warrior waitress, and she's become the emblem for our exhibition. And our exhibition, Doin It In Public, is one of the Pacific Standard Time projects. One of the goals of the exhibition in looking at the history of the women's building is we wanted to provide the context in which it came from. And to do that, we have a section in the exhibit that talks about the feminist art program that was headed by Judy Chicago at Fresno State University in 1970, and some other kind of key events like the protest of the LACMA exhibition, Art and Technology, in 1971 by the LA Council of Women Artists. Also the projects that happened at Cal Arts with Woman House, and then Women's Space Gallery.
The term feminist art was really invented in Fresno in about 1970 when they did the first feminist art program. Judy Chicago directed that. And one of the things that she had all the students do was to go out and get work boots. Her theory was you can't really make art and do what you need to do if you're wearing little flip-flops. So this is a boot that Suzanne Lacey's work boot that she bronzed and gave to Judy Chicago as a gift.
We have a section on the visionaries of the women's building, which are Judy Chicago, Sheila Levrant de Bretteville, and Arlene Raven. So you have an artist, designer, and an art historian coming together to create the Feminist Studio Workshop and the women's building. And it was important to kind of have all three aspects because they were creating their own system and distribution and publication about art at a time when there was no system for women to participate in. They were kind of excluded from the art market and all of that.
They created a building that they called a public center for women's culture. That was very important. That culture wasn't just painting or drawing, but it included all the arts, music, writing, everything. And it was a place to display and to present and to study women's art of all kind.
Yeah, it was also about exhibiting, but documenting, writing about, making sure that this information was available.
And the reason that they were so worried about losing the history and the documentation was so important was because of the 1893 Women's Building. The Women's Building of 1973 took its name after that building. It was at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, and it brought together arts and handicrafts from women from all around the world. And as with most of those buildings at that time, it was torn down and the art was put in storage, and all of it, I think, was lost, either returned or lost. And nobody ever heard of it until one of Judy Chicago's students was looking in a used bookstore and found this antique catalog that said the Women's Building of 1893. It was called the Arts and Handicraft of the Women's Building. And they started looking through it and realized that nobody had ever heard of this. It was completely lost to history, and they vowed to name this new center, the Women's Building, after that building, and to make a place where women's art could be remembered.
The main theme of the exhibition focus of the exhibition is on the idea of collaboration. And so a lot of the print projects in the ephemera that we show reflects collaboration in different ways. And we also focused on the artist collectives. These were groups that were formed at the building that made artwork together for periods of time. And those 5 collectives are Sisters of Survival, Mother Art, Ariadne, a social art network, Feminist Art Workers, and the Waitresses. Also, one of the things that we did for the show was we asked each of the collectives to review their documentation of their projects from the period and kind of create little installations. So a lot of the images have been scanned in and blown up. They've created kind of a sense and a feel for the work that they were doing at the time.
The building was a place where you had a lot of activity going on, and there were lots of women that you could call upon to support the different projects. They'd show up and be in things and do things. So that was really the fun part.
The very last section, the last cases in the exhibition, deal with financial survival, which many nonprofits are struggling with now. And the Women's Building did a lot of programming and fundraisers and received all kinds of grants from CETA grants, the National Endowment for the Arts grants, and
California Arts Council, Cultural Affairs, City of
It was a
LA.
very well-respected organization in terms of the foundations that they worked with, and they did some really innovative projects. But suffering from, a decade of Reagan and all the cuts for alternative education funding and arts funding, the California Arts Council was decimated. And also, I think the impact of what was happening within the feminist movement and the creation of all the women's studies programs that were integrating into the mainstream universities and everything, it really changed the dynamic and the need. And so the building closed in 1991. It was interesting listening to Terry Wolverton speak about it, because she really, now kind of looking back on everything, the Women's Building really fulfilled its mission. Even though it's sad that it's gone, it was a great success. We've decided to extend the exhibition through February 26, 2012, and we hope that you will come out and see it in person.